critical meeting is underway at the White House. President Trump hosting members of the House Freedom Caucus who are still a no when it comes to the so-called Big Beautiful Bill to advance Trump's sweeping agenda. Those holdouts asking for more time and standing in the way of Trump's desire to see that bill passed tonight.
I don't think it can be done today. I mean, the runway is short today.
We're going to work with the president today. We're going to work with our colleagues to deliver, but there's a long way to go.
There's some kind of belief in Washington, D.C. that once today comes and goes, that this cannot be fixed. This is a completely arbitrary deadline set by people here to force people into a corner to make bad decisions.
The two biggest sticking points, Medicaid and clean energy. The hardliners want to see bigger cuts to what they say is fraud, waste, and abuse in Medicaid, and they want to see all funding for clean energy programs stripped from the bill. Now, a source inside the administration telling CNN that the White House previously presented the Freedom Caucus with a set of policy options, but going into today's meeting, there was still no deal. Right now, the Dow closing down now, as you see right here, more than 800 points. That's just shy of 2%. The market's concerned over estimates from the Congressional Budget Office that says that this bill will add $2.3 trillion to the deficit over the next 10 years. And that's a concern that many Republicans, even those who plan to vote for the bill, are sharing.
My concern about the deficit and the debt is tremendous. This bill in its entirety, the way it was written, we would go from 36 trillion now in debt to 56 trillion minimum in 10 years.
Currently, the bill spends more money than the status quo. I mean, so it doesn't actually help deficits, it actually hurts the deficits.
I'm a deficit hawk. I'm not happy with this bill, but it's probably the best we're going to get right now.
Yeah, and the CBO actually projecting nearly $4 trillion to the deficit over 10 years. My panelists here, along with CNN's Manu Raju. He is live on Capitol Hill. Manu, you talked with the speaker just before this meeting. Where do things stand at this hour?
Yeah, the speaker is still pressing ahead, and the pressure campaign is on in the hopes that these members who are demanding more time ultimately will bend to Donald Trump's will and demand and get behind their push to pass this out of the House as soon as tonight. That was a message from Speaker Johnson and his chief deputy, the House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, as they left for the White House, indicating they still plan to press ahead, to keep to their push to try to get this bill out of the House before Memorial Day. And when I asked the Speaker if he would give the hardliners more time to negotiate as they've been demanding, he indicated it was time to vote. Are you going to put this bill on the floor tonight, or are you going to give the Freedom Caucus more time like they demanded?
Look, we're going to have a discussion at the White House about that. We're trying to get the bill in its best possible form, and we're trying to meet our deadline for the votes. The president's called for it. We've been saying this for many months, that we would do it before Memorial Day, and I intend to hold the discussion.
We've been continuing to work through issues, but we also have known that we got to keep the bill moving because there's a lot more steps in this process. I mean, the Senate, of course, has to go and do their work. You've got other things like the debt ceiling in the bill that do have timelines.
So you're going to go tonight. That's your intention.
We're moving forward with the vote.
But it's going to require a lot of those holdouts to change their positions and get on board. Remember, only 3 Republican defections. That's all that Johnson can afford to get this over the finish line. And he's managed to placate concerns from the more centrist wing of the Republican conference, cutting deals on a number of issues, including the amount that people can deduct on state and local taxes. But that deal that he cut, mainly with those Northeast Republicans, New York Republicans, that caused anger on the right because it would increase the price tag. But the calculation of the leadership was cut a deal with the moderates and hope the conservatives bend to what Donald Trump is demanding. The question, though, is will they do that in this meeting now? It's been going on for about an hour. Pamela.
All right, Manu Raju will be tracking that meeting at the White House. Thank you so much. My panel joins me now, CNN political analyst and White House correspondent for the New York Times, Zolan Kano-Youngs, CNN political commentator Jonah Goldberg, Democratic strategist Adrian Elrod, and CNN senior political commentator Scott Jennings. All right, so here we have this meeting at the White House with the GOP holdouts. Johnson wants the vote today. Clearly, that doesn't seem to be happening. Where do you see this going, Scott?
We'll see. They make it there. I mean, it's intense when you put members of Congress into the White House and get the President of the United States looking them in the eye and saying, do you want to be the Republican that goes home and tells your constituents that you were the person that stopped the America First agenda? Because I'm sure that's the conversation that's happening right now. So I have optimism, and I think the Speaker's office, from what I can tell, still has optimism that they might get this done here before they leave for the weekend. I will just say, whatever they do, it still has to go tangle with the Senate. You know, there's two parties in Washington, the House and the Senate, and one party will finish and then the other party will take it up, and we'll be having these conversations all summer. But getting over this hurdle to show the Republicans that put all these people in office some progress is a big political deal for the Republican Party.
Yeah, and just in terms of the timeline, you heard Andy Harris today, sort of the chairman of the Freedom Caucus, come out and say, look, this could be another 10 days until we vote on this. You heard Representative Chip Roy say we have a long way to go. Again, this was before their meeting with President Trump at the White House. That, of course, could change things. I want to listen to this sound from Congressman Harris about this bill.
This bill actually got worse overnight. There is no way it passes today. And as I've said all along, we may need a couple of weeks to iron everything out, but it's not going anywhere today.
What is the significance of that, the longer that this goes on, Jonah?
But the problem is the longer these things go on, the harder it gets to get them passed, right? So I think that's part of the sort of pull the Band-Aid, get this over with, kick it to the Senate. Look, my priors have been from the beginning, eventually something passes, because for exactly the argument that Scott's making, which is that the stakes for Republicans are so much worse if it doesn't. So eventually, who knows what deals are going to be made and all that kind of stuff. Like, as a fiscal conservative, I think this whole thing is a hate crime. But it's going to pass, and then the Senate is going to go nuts with it and change it in ways that are completely going to overturn what the House agreed to, and then you're going to have this reconciliation thing. So this is going to be something we're going to be talking about on here all summer long.
Let's talk about the fiscal conservatism, though, because the CBO came out. That's the Congressional Budget Office. It's nonpartisan. It says this bill would force cuts to Medicare, will take from the poor and give to the rich. Nearly 9 million people will lose access to health insurance. It will increase the deficit by nearly $4 trillion. That is what they are estimating. I mean, you have to ask about Republicans and being willing to run on that next year.
Sure, you have, one faction that's obviously concerned about the fiscal nature of this and how much it'll cost. But you have also, conservatives that are also worried about cuts to the social safety net and programs like Medicaid and Medicare, and the political backlash that will come with those cuts. Those are programs that many of the president's own supporters also rely on here. So you do have those nerves. But this whole scenario, we're talking about the timing of this when the White House has also made clear that this and the passage of this bill, the president views it almost as a loyalty test here. You saw him say yesterday, look, if you don't want to support this, you might not be a Republican much anymore. There was an OMB, Office of Management and Budget statement that also used the word betrayal as well. This is much stronger than just a message of him saying, how are you going to answer your constituents? He is making clear that he sees the actions of Republicans in Congress here as a real measure of their loyalty to the White House and to him.
Yeah, I mean, you saw what he said about Rep. Massey, who's a no on this, who clearly isn't going to change his mind, that he should be voted out of office, basically, is what he said. And we're also seeing a little bit about how Republicans will message this if this does not pass the House. Adrian, Rep. Barr from my home state of Kentucky was on CNN earlier today, and here's what he said.
For the life of me, I don't know why anyone, Democrat or the grandstanders, would vote against this bill. I think it's political suicide. Voting against this bill is voting for a $4 trillion tax increase. It's voting for increases on taxes on middle-income Americans. It's voting for tax increases on tips, tax increases on overtime.
What do you say to that?
Well, look, I don't understand if you are one of the 12 to 20 or so vulnerable Republicans that, won in a very marginal district this last time around, how you can actually go home, look your constituents in the eye, many of whom, to the point you made earlier, are benefit from these social safety net programs, benefit from Medicaid, benefit from Social Security, and say, I voted for the largest reduction in Medicaid in the history since the program has been incepted. So how do you actually go home to do that? And I will tell you this, Scott, Democrats will remember there will be a lot of money spent in these districts for Republicans who voted for this bill, making sure that every single one of their constituents is aware of the cuts that they made to their programs and how they are actually affecting their lives adversely.
I have no doubt that Democrats will spend money complaining about this, because anything that we take away from illegal aliens, Democrats go insane.
We're not talking about
So
immigration. We're talking about safety.
No, we're talking about
social
illegal
safety
aliens
programs
being kicked off of Medicaid, and we're talking about able-bodied people needing to show some kind of work product here. That's what we're talking about in this program. It's a massive program, and it costs a lot of money. And there's, I think,
And
even
it's
according to
$4
the
trillion
according
added
to
to the debt.
according to the
courtesy of
CBO,
this
like
bill?
$500 billion of possible waste, fraud, and abuse in this program. There are ways to cut this that doesn't impact a single person who actually needs it. And I would
Well,
be
then
more
is
than
that-
happy.
this bill is not
I
doing
would be
that.
more than
This
happy
bill
to go
is not
home
doing that.
and run a campaign and say, we took this away from illegal aliens so we could shore it up for you.
But
That's a
that's not
message
what this
anybody
bill
can-
does. That's not what
it's
this bill
exactly-
does.
it's exactly what it
Immigrants
does.